people, here we are. Block Party's back. Packers win 24-22. I'm your host, Mike Wahle. Thanks for watching. If you're enjoying, please subscribe, rate, and review on our iTunes, Spotify, or iHeartRadio. You can check out our Process to Perform channel if you want to see the videos that we put up with regards to the game review, all the film analysis. You can check me out, MikeWall68, on Twitter, Process to Perform, and Instagram. Our show is always sponsored by BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything sports betting. Every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games with the largest catalog of odds on everything from football, Major League playoffs, NHL, NBA, to political props, something you guys have to check out. When the game's over, head over to online casino and get into a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. Bet online. The game starts here. So much for high scoring, huh? Packers win 24-22, last-minute field goal. Defense really shuts down C.J. Stroud in the passing attack. I mean, listen, this game is ugly if you like big plays, if you like airing it out. But if you like defense, if you like hitting, if you like defensive scheming, I mean, this was chaos. Packers defense took a page out of the Vikings playbook from a couple weeks back, shut down the Texans up in Minnesota. Absolutely confused and controlled the Texans to the line of scrimmage, at least in the passing attack. Stroud, C.J. Stroud, who is, for me, one of the top guys in the league. You could see him on the sideline after the first quarter going to his guys and saying, like, you just got to give me some time because there's so many free rushers. He finishes 10 for 21, 86 yards, no touches, no picks, sacked 4 times. Really, the tape will tell it's enough said on that. Mixon ran effectively. Mixon was 25 for 115, had 2 touchdowns. I mean, and there were some holes in the defense, obviously. When you can play downhill, things are a little bit easier. You know, ultimately, defensively, the Packers made the plays that mattered. You think this team, minus Nico Collins, is still going to be able to get it done? You're talking about the Texans' offense, but really 22 points. They should have had more. The Packers stopped them on the first drive down when they had it first and goal. More times than not, they just, they stalled out in the middle of the field. Really, if you're going to point to anything, I think the Packers just won the mental game. I think Jeff Hathley out-schemed Slovic. I think we out-executed the Texans up front. I know those two have a history together. Obviously, I think being in San Francisco at the same time, you know that Hathley has a pretty solid understanding of the nuances of the Texan scheme. Having LaFleur's got a derivative of it, but certainly seeing the direct Shanahan transfer that's happened there. I'll tell you what's interesting is, and this kind of shows you where different teams are at. So let's just say that the Kyle Shanahan iteration of the Shanahan offense is like the most advanced as far as, how many different checks, calls, how sophisticated their offensive line is, how many things that the calls their center can make the quarterback to get out of situations. Like, think about all of that. Right now, you look at it and say, like, okay, we're in year 2 here. If you're the Houston Texans, you're in year, 4 now with Matt LaFleur, but really maybe year 2, think about just with Jordan Love. And you just see some of the limitations on one side, and you see some of the opportunities on the side of these offenses, as opposed to maybe some of the other, especially when you break down the time tweet. You're watching the game, man. There's so many things are flying around, the TV copies, the commentators. But when you watch this all 22, some of the things that Hathley had schemed up, it's not that they were super complicated. There's stuff that, guys were doing 15, 20 years ago, but he just knew the pressure points to put on the communication of this offensive line, the running backs and the tight ends, and even the second-year quarterback. As a guy who follows the Texans, you saw this a couple weeks ago in Minnesota, where they just got absolutely dismantled, I think, up front in the passing game, just not knowing who to pick up or where. And that, while I don't know that Lambeau Field has the same crowd level as far as noise as Minnesota, man, they really shut down this Texans offense. Offensively, the Packers, I think you come out of the game, you score 24 points, you win the game. Jordan Love has a fourth quarter winning drive. He ends up today, 24 for 33, 220 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 bad picks. Starts off the game with an interception to Neville Hughes, one of my guys. I think when you come away from this game, you really say, look, one of the right guards needs to step up. Like one of these guys needs to play. It looks like maybe the switching game's finally over. I don't know if somebody got hurt, but I think Morgan came in early in the game, maybe in the third series. First snap was a disaster, and it seemed like in the second half at least, you got Sean Ryan for the most part, but whether it's communication, whether it's confidence, whether it's physicality, like it's what you can see on both sides of both teams, where one player on the offensive line is kind of holding everybody back, and that's just, listen, I think I've been in that situation before. Like, you just don't want to be in that situation. You don't want to be that guy. So somebody needs to step up. Jacobs is, again, largely because of this, held under 100 yards. Now, 12 for 76, so you have a good yards per carry, but you have a long of 27, which kind of eats into that a little bit. Does finish with a TD catch. I think really the player on offense that made the most noise is Romeo Doubs. Coming off of that 2-touchdown performance last week, he has, he's got 8 for 94. Really, he was like 7-11, man. He's open anytime you want. They singled him up oftentimes on the man side, ran a bunch to the other side, and the slant and the 4-step slant, the 2-step slant, whatever you wanted was open all the time. Safety couldn't get there. The Texans defense certainly came to play. I think they harassed Love. They got 3 sacks, number of pressures equals picks, as we'll see on the tape. He did have a seesaw performance, but listen, Jordan Love's got a little bit of Brett Favre in him, and you gotta love it. He throws a couple of balls off his back foot. He did it last year. He's doing it this year. Last week he throws a ball, everybody thinks he's a hero. This week he throws a couple off his back foot, throws a pick. It goes the other way. But when it mattered, found Doubs enough times, scored got the yards to score the field goal. I want to start on defense because this really wasn't in the game. So we go to we see a 4-3 look versus their 12 personnel. They got a tight end in the backfield they're using as a fullback. They've got Stephon Diggs in there in the box. So what they do is they just reduce down. So Larry Tunsil's just going to have to block their outside linebacker because he's going to win his matchup one way or the other. But now all these other guys have to win, particularly on the backside. And what you see here, and this happened all day, is the backside, if they wanted to penetrate, they were just going to make this guy force the bounce out. And once you go laterally, if you're mixing, you're not going to out-leverage. I think that's Keyshawn Nixon outside. Not going to happen. Fantastic job. By the way, you're going to see an eerie shadow because I had to film the film today. So I'm like Galactus in Marvel Comics, kind of overseeing the whole thing here. So we got the under center play action pass. And listen, it really is, the game is a matter of inches, or a matter of plays. This is a touchdown. He scores a touchdown here. This is probably a different ball game. Ball bounces off his chest. CJ Stroud throws a couple of dimes in here, right? But this is a game of moments. He drops it. You know who's coming over. Darius Alexander, man. I just love to know what trash he's talking sometimes. Like, just when you see him interviewed, he just doesn't seem like he'd be a good trash talker because he's so happy about everything. But he must just say some vile stuff with a smile on his face, like Joker style, like sociopath. Like, he should write a book. I love it. Now, we talk about finding the fish sometimes. And listen, early and often, they found this left guard. Now, you see here with Rashawn Gary. We get that back here. So they stand up Rashawn. And listen, here's what happens when you go into a loud environment, right? You have one of the guards hits the center does the head nod he's supposed to, at least, then hikes the ball. And we'll see during the course of this, Packers have these guys so rattled that they don't know whether they're coming or going. But Kenyon, at some point, KG, the left guard, doesn't realize that Rashawn Gary's right over the center. So, guys said saying, oh boy, Rashawn had a great day. Yeah. He was unblocked so many times this game. It was funny. It's funny, and it just is what it is. You think Rashawn's a game plan guy, and they didn't game plan for him at all. And the Packers game plan specifically to get him involved. And then obviously, a guy falls down and, they forget to block him, blah, 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 blah. But they moved him around a little bit, got him open. They didn't account for him right there, and that's what a good defensive coordinator does, to get your guy involved. I think this is the next one. Sometimes this just works out, man. Titus Howard didn't have a real problem blocking anybody one-on-one yesterday, but you step on your tight end's foot because he won't get out of there fast enough. Sean Gary hasn't had a sack in a long time. Gets a free one. Knows that maybe it was a divine power. Gives the thank you. This is a big deal. Only one guy has to win here. If you just look at, everybody's got a man covered up. And really, I think we're going to get a little penetration, or excuse me, we're going to get off the line of scrimmage here with 71 on his man on the spike. But Evan Williams comes in, beats the receiver. Evan Williams and Bullard both, man. Jeez, oh, Pete's, they're good. So we got the double A gaps. You can't see it on the left here. This is Xavier McKinney. But they learned this from the Vikings. And what I mean by that is, if you put a bunch of guys up at the line of scrimmage, for whatever reason, the Texans are having a really hard time communicating who they should be going to. They have this blocked up. Dalton Schultz is out on the left, can easily block McKinney. They've got the back in the backfield, can account for the A gap. We can get a fan on the right side, and we can get the center slide to the left. I mean, this is a relatively easy pickup. Remember what we talk about all the time, guys, is if you have stunts, that really takes away from the creativity of the rush for guys like Rashawn Gary. So if he just has to go inside, all of a sudden his rush isn't as good as if it's just like a one-on-one rush. Actually, from a body standpoint, it's easier to pick up. But if the center or the quarterback, I don't know who it is, isn't making the right call, now Dalton Schultz all of a sudden doesn't know who to block. He realizes it right there. Sack. McKinney gets him out of field goal range. And again, the amount of unblocked guys in this game was atrocious. If you're a Texans guy, if you're a Packers guy, just the way you drew it up, unbelievable. If you watch the receiver up here, sometimes, listen, guys, I just like watching film. So, this is a Packers show, but you just got to point out everything. We're up at Twins left here. Inside receiver, what are you running? So it doesn't make this a clear path for the quarterback, because that linebacker's got to drag with him. He goes to the out. They're running cover 2 here. You just create this palms up moment where, your quarterback has to throw right to the safety, because it's like they didn't know what route to run. It's wild. Some of the stuff on this tape is just wild. Got him flustered. Okay. So we do a full slide. Instead of blocking our main guy, one of the the bigs, and leave it to the running back. And just so many things where you get a free rusher. Now, listen, this is a tough sport. So they put 87 in motion, and we've seen this play with the Niners. We've seen it with the Packers, the Rams, everybody. Preston does a great job of keeping outside leverage, but unfortunately, right here, just got hit by a tsunami right there. That was tough. That was tough to see. This is keep poison. So what do I mean by that? So they motion to the backfield, they motion across the line of scrimmage with Diggs. When they come across here, they've got Rashawn Gary on a 6 technique. They're playing Cooper on the outside. They still have the corner outside, and they got the safety, right? Because this is where they've been trying to make their money. So now Rashawn Gary's playing the part of, I'm going to be able to penetrate. And they've got 3 outside. And when you watch this, Cooper's backpedaling with this guy. This is a joke to him. I mean, that right there is, you want to talk about being an athlete? You want to talk about demoralizing? You're trying to get up in your route, running full speed, and this guy's backpedaling with you? What an athlete. Cross the ball, just bounce up for Green Bay here. They throw the screen. Eric Wilson, what a great job sniffing this out. I'll try to show this from the end zone. So Wilson bounces over. Eric Wilson had a great job yesterday. So, everybody talks about, Quay got the concussion, took a kick in the head on a good play made by him. Just unfortunate. Eric Wilson's been playing. All these guys have been playing. Well, this is so much better. So you see this here, and they're in man. And so you got to ID it, and somebody's got to let go. And we talked about this last week. Let me go back here. So the center should be stepping to right now. And because he steps away, he doesn't have the leverage. Shaq Mason takes a little bit too long, but really, I don't think they're ever going to make this play. I think Eric Wilson sniffs this out too fast, but what a hammer shot he lays on the running back. So we got a stand-up, two stand-ups on the right side. I think this is going to be the TE game. So we're laid again on the left. And this is where you show you're really flustered. So when your center doesn't head nod, like he doesn't, I think he doesn't head nod. So, if imagine that you're Rasheed Walker, you're Zach Tom, and you're in Minnesota, and the ball just gets hiked. I mean, this is the kind of stuff where another free rusher for Green Bay. CJ Stroud has to step up, just a wasted throw. And again, just they at this point in the game, and it's still pretty early. This point in the game, that offensive line, the communication, they are completely frustrated. They're not even helping their own guys out with the snap count. Wow. This is a complete established dominance moment. So left guard's going to pull on Cooper, who we said weighs about 230 pounds. And it's just absolutely tosses him. And he gets up and gives him like, hey, you did a good job. Like, yeah, man, I know I did a good job. Oy vey. Listen, if you just get up and get iced by a linebacker and thrown on the ground, don't get up and point to him and say, good job. You know what I mean? Cooper, well done, sir. Making plays here. So they bring the backside tight end across. I don't know if he's supposed to go inside out or what, but Williams does a good job spiking through. Now, Mixon has to make the decision if he's going to go downhill and try to run through the rookie, or is he going to try to bounce? He tries to bounce like he's going to be able, like Williams doesn't have a ridiculous center of gravity and change of direction. And Williams just absolutely buries him here. What a great play by the rookie. Again, opportunistic, because I think after the PI on the 2-point conversion here, they figure they're probably going to run this football. We've shown this formation a ton already. They brought it backside now with the tight end, but they've kind of run the same stuff 3 times now. It hasn't worked any time. Went back to the well one last time. No bueno. Kenny Clark on their left guard. You got to exploit your mismatches. And this is what we talked about. Was this Kenny or was this Carl Brooks? Because both of them beat him pretty bad. We'll see. But here's the thing with all of these situations, you got that 3 technique. One of the things you have to do as a defensive coordinator, obviously you want to know what they do on first and second down, what their tendencies are, what personnel they like to run, what are their big calls in third down, what do they do in the red zone, etc. You want to know all that stuff, right? Numbers on the quarterback, blah, blah. The other thing you do this on both sides of the ball, is you're like, who can we exploit? Who can we take advantage of? And they figured out real early that they're going to be able to take advantage of the communication, and they're going to be taking advantage of the interior of the offensive line. Something I talked about on a number of shows last week. You're not going to beat the tackles on the Texans very often, but you are going to run a ton of games and be able to beat the guys on the inside. So Kenny, this is a run game. Kenny just blows them off the ball, line of scrimmage, and big time play. King's Buffet. This is who wants to win this time? So now they decide to do a full slide to the left. 3-man slide to the left, and we get picked. What a great job on the pick game by Eric Wilson. So Wilson knows, and again, this is just watching tape. The guard sets flat. So we know this is going to be a pick opportunity. He does a good job of ripping down on the center's arm, so he has to get his chest on his shoulder, which means he's not going to be able to redirect. Then he comes off free. Good job with no penalty there. That's a big deal. And now they run the TE on the other side against Shaq Mason and Titus. And I think we get a good job by Carl Brooks of grabbing the arm. We get around for a free shot here. Again, make him get out of there. He's trying to make something happen. CJ Stroud, as good as he is, he's running for his life half the game. Packers did such a good job. Again, free runners. Creating situations where you don't even have to win one-on-one. You're just creating free runners. Got two guys walking up now. We're going to run the double A's. Now they change it up, and they pick the center. And they picked the center because when they were on the sideline last time, they went, hey, you know what? The running back's still back with the quarterback. He's not sitting up in the A gap, so they're not going to be able to pick us. They're not going to be able to pick us up, so we can actually just pick on the center here. If we see that he ever turns his body, he gets picked. Instead of getting back, he scoots over. Another great job by Wilson. I love this here. Yeah, I mean, this guy, he's the absolute best. He is the absolute best. I have no idea what he's saying. He could be talking about his favorite color, man. It's just unbelievable. All right, this is just disrespectful. This is Kenny being a little bit of a bully. I think we try to inside. We're trying a little run game here. He's trying to get an inside drive. Talking about left guard, just absolutely just dump trucks him. Tough sport, man. Really good job here at both D tackle positions. The center's got a tough block. And then they run the fold on the backside of Rashawn Gary. You see the great job the linebacker does coming over the top and jumping inside on the left guard. Left guard completely misses at the second level. And then Rashawn Gary does the fold over and gets in on the tackle. It's like a backside T, but it happens in real time. That's Carl Brooks right there. I mean, what a win. Great pass rush. Gets him out. He makes the play, but you're forcing the guy out of the pocket. He's only so many times, 86 yards on the day. Now, so Lucas Van Ness is, quiet day. It was kind of expected he was going to have a quiet day just from a pass rush standpoint. But I'll tell you what, he does do this well. This shows up. I don't know if it shows up in the stats all the time, but it does show up on tape as far as being able to crash down, chase the ball, make contact with the split flow guy or the guard, whoever's pulling, make contact with him early, and then be able to play off of it here. Really splits Shaq, the right guard and the tight end. Splits them both somehow, which is damn near impossible to do, quite frankly, on a pull. And ends up making an tackle for loss. It's fantastic. Texans got trips. Again, free runner. This is probably, you think this is going to be the play of the day, quite frankly. I mean, this throw was absolutely disgusting how good it was. And again, free runner. Rashawn's a free runner, not even touched because I don't know if I showed this on the end zone, but you'll see the right tackle thinks he has a sift. Running back actually steps up. Right tackle goes back. Just the communication errors were just so heavy. We'll see it here. So more confusion to overcome. And again, I think for the Packers, this is winning football. Not many people are making that throw. All right. Let's go right into offense. Let me end by saying that was as good a defensive performance as you're going to see, given the talent they have on the other side of the line. And it shows you how important like communication and confidence is in the sport. We can talk about the schemes with the individual players, the ability or inability to communicate, to be able to walk up an ID, to kind of Rolodex stuff that you've seen in your head already. The Packers did such a masterful job with really a couple, things over and over again. But when it comes down to it, being the aggressor to the football. And I think as much as anything, the personality of these safeties, the linebacker group, have they improved? The penetration of the defensive line, all of that stuff contributes, I think, in a big way that, again, is not necessarily tangible, but it has a huge impact on the game and the personality of this team. All right, Neville Hewitt, the guy I've known since Miami. He was drafted a free agent down there. He's one of my favorite guys I've ever worked with, and he hits like an absolute anvil hammer, man. And Josh Myers found it out right now. He's just not. There's no. You're not standing him up. You're not doing anything. He's just going to butt you right in the face. He's not the most mobile guy in the world. He can hit, and apparently he can pick people off too. Now, I show this only because I think Sean Ryan may have had the play of the day here, because that touchdown saving tackle turned into 3 points. That was huge. Now, look, Jalen Petrie is listed at 200 pounds. That's Zach Tom. We need more out of Zach. Petrie puts his shoulder right in his chest, kind of knocks Zach back, gets in on the tackle here. Jordan Morgan comes in the game. We've been talking about splitting. I think this is his first rep. This is a footwork league, guys. That's just not it. That's just not it. Now, Josh Jacobs made something happen, so it doesn't go in the playbook or in the score sheet. But again, I don't know the full reason why they didn't split it in the second half, but I have an idea. Now, Neville. Now you got to meet Josh. Now he's got him dead to rights. Gets under Rashid's block. Josh Jacobs just gets a quick step up and 9-nights. Man, Josh Jacobs has some moves. Jump cuts in the hole is nasty. Okay, we talked about this last week. They'll play a lot of man, and look how deep their safety is. I mean, their safety is 20 yards deep on the snap of the football. So Romeo Dobbs over here, like, how open do you want me to be? I mean, he could have ran that play 100 times. Probably should have. Now, when you run under center play action, this is kind of a pet peeve of mine. Someone's got to sell the run. Everybody goes back here. So, like, he turns around. He's like, wow, okay, 94 just beat my guard. I'm getting drive blocked by my tackle. Like, it's complete chaos around here. Like, got to give the quarterback a shot there. If you're going to be nice, let's go under center play action. Not like shotgun with, like, the gratuitous fake, but under center play action. Like, someone's got to sell it. We got to slow down the rush somewhere so he's got a place to walk to. Put this play in here, and we saw this play work against, I think, the Bears last year, right, for a TD. But, Watson's a lot of things, not really a change of direction guy. I was surprised that he slowed down here and didn't try to hit the gas and go to the sideline. The game boils down to a couple plays, and this is one of them. So Reed gets this short of the sticks, and we just got a suplex here by Neville. Whether it's late or unnecessary, I don't know. I love it, quite frankly. And, I'm just old school, man. It looked like fun to me. But they get the first down, I think 2 or 3 plays later. What a great throw and catch by them. Now, the orbit motion, we'll see that all day. I'm talking about like the reverse orbit where they send the linebacker out and back in. All they're trying to do is see if that guy's man. And they're doing 2 things. One, they want to identify that specific player, okay? But 2, they want to know who's coming. Because the Texans have shown that they don't, unlike the Packers did 2 weeks ago, they don't blitz the backside guy. They bring the guy who's on the back because they think they're going to green dog him. So they make a new adjustment for the protection. And they just throw an absolute dime. And, I think everybody's shown this play a million different ways, but the way that he gets the backside safety to hold just long enough and then doesn't really curl this ball into the middle, right? It's still, he catches on the right side of the field and rolls over to the left. So we're in a pistol. Now, this is a tough one. This is just kind of football 101. When you see that space there, you know that somebody's coming into the box. You're going motion over, so you're going to crack on 43. Your left guard and your center got to go up to 35. Remember, they have 2 backups in the game at linebacker, so I think the Texans were missing 5 starters on defense. And the safety's coming down. Now, as the right guard, you have to know that you're going to the safety because now you can hang on that 3 technique more and help Zach Tom, which creates vertical movement, which means that you're going to be able to cut and go downhill more, which is going to turn this into a real play and not this. You turn that's a 7 or 8 yard play. Zach Tom does a great job, but imagine if he has 4 hands on that guy instead of 2. Another big play in the game here. This is a situation where you make this play, they're punting, and the Green Bay Packers just enough for the first down. I think that was a rushing play too. I think he threw it behind the line of scrimmage. I think he threw it behind him. So I think that actually came in as a rushing play. Really fantastic job. Those little plays, when you look back at the game, those are kind of the plays that win you the football game. Because this drive was wild. So you have that play. Then you have this one. This is a real simple game. Again, pitcher goes at 200 pounds. You have a double team that should get vertical to 43, and then your tight end has to take on a 200-pound, really, listed as a nickel back. And, I mean, you don't get the double because the guard gets, instead of going vertical here, he's trying to release. And when you try to release, you get pushed down, right? So you really haven't gone anywhere. And Zach Tom's kind of on his own now. You got to be the bumper there. Pitcher gets inside. Now, another huge call. And then this might be the call of the game. So Jordan Love scrambles, throws an absolute dime here. And I think this is the right call. But, I went slow-mo on this. It happens pretty damn fast. And the guy behind him doesn't make the call, which is interesting because you see the backside arm wrap around, if anything. And why does that matter? Because I think 2 plays later, so this safety flips his hips out, flips them back, then flips them out again, and by then it's too late. Wicks down the sideline for a touchdown. Then I think the next play, under center play action. Now, I think this is Danielle Hunter, former Viking, getting around and pressuring Jordan Love. Safety comes up with a pick. I think that's a rookie. Third pick of the year. Now, here's kind of what I'm saying about some of this stuff. Josh Myers has to adjust the way he's doing a little bit, but so you're uncovered. Even if you're going to the linebacker on our right, their left, stay in the middle because you got the wide 3. You have time to get over there into the backside A gap. But he goes over so much here. And listen, Sean Ryan loses. I mean, it's a bad job by him of pass pro. But you can also help out a little by just staying as big as possible. Don't need to give up that sack. When in doubt, run gap. We've been saying it all year. They're having a hard time running the football. Put gap in, get a 10-yard gain. This is a great call. So they decided to bring the safety off the edge, but because they bump on the motion, again, they do that reverse orbit, and you just don't really know what to do when they got another guy in the backfield. So they bump the linebackers. So 43, Neville Hewitt goes out, and they bring the guy off the edge, and all of a sudden there's just nobody on the backside here for the cutback, and it's biggest run of the day. Got him back into scoring position. And then they do the reverse orbit to identify what's happening, bring him back in. And so now the tackle knows who he has to go get, or the guard, and they look like they're going to run the screen. I don't know if Josh Jacobs does this on purpose or not, but it looks like he just runs a little Texas route, which is just a little angle back in for the tutty. Boy, they like a lot of that backfield mess around. This is a rush play, and so Will Anderson just sizes up our left tackle and just takes him right down the barrel. And really, he's doing this is my favorite kind. This is what I always think Rashawn Gary should be doing. So you see he's pressing in the pocket, making Jordan Love back up, but he can't really go anywhere. And now, because he's so high, Danielle Hunter, who's run a high angle, but Jordan Love's 11 yards off the line of scrimmage. So that high angle works. So you get the sack. And then, when it plays matter, this is just stealing. You're playing almost 10 yards off, high safety, linebacker up, trying to play man in the flat. And that was really the game right there. They had the offsides call and this and that and the other, but That's what it ended up doing. I mean, that really was the game. Fun one to watch. Fun one to watch. I'm going to give you guys a couple. Am I going to give you a couple? Ooh. Let's do a couple listener questions before we get out of here. I'm guessing the tape will show the game wasn't quite as close as the score. It was close. Two good teams, but Green Bay's U forced errors as much. It made it close. I don't know. Green Bay's U forced errors made it close. Oh, okay. Unforced errors. What am I doing? Yeah, I think that's true. Certainly, like the Texans defense came to play, but as you see, I could have showed even more of the Packers defense and how well they played. They were just dominant from a disruptive standpoint. The coaching was really, really high level, and it just didn't seem like, we talk about like the evolution of offenses, and Slowick's offense just didn't seem as evolved as it needed to be to make adjustments, if that makes sense. You mentioned Morgan having tackle feet in quotes. I don't know if I ever said tackle feet, but I'm sure I did. Do you view Morgan as a tackle still down the road? I don't know that I said that. And as a former NFL lineman, how tough is it to play different position on the line, tackle to guard? Well, the leverage points and the ferocity is a little bit different. Athletes are different on the outside. It's different angles and whatnot. You can see though. I think Morgan is struggling with the physicality and the suddenness of what happens inside. You can't, if you're not a really, really physical player and you don't have good footwork in there, I think it's really tough. Defense was amazing. How impressed you with Eric Wilson? Eric Wilson played so well. It's crazy when guys get hurt and players that you just kind of take them for granted, step in and play as well as he did. And honestly, Neville Hewitt on the other side of the ball, I think he had 9 tackles and a pick. Those guys just played extremely well, and it just makes it kind of, if you're a coach, you just are happy for him because it's like, man, like what we're doing works. The process that we're going through with this defensive coordinator and this defensive staff, what we're doing, these guys works. It makes sense. What do you think the difference was for Gary this week? Was it a nice game for him, or do you think it was a matchup thing or scheme, or just Gary being better? Listen, Gary always plays hard. He was untouched multiple times this game. I don't know that he won for anything, and that's not to put anybody down. I mean, he did in the run game, but none of the pressures and everything that he had, he was literally untouched. Like they were not blocking him at all, which is wild because I think last year you would have game planned the hell out of him, and they haven't. Do you think the Packers D-line had advantage from Halfley knowing Slowick and the scheme's rules? Oh, that's a good question. Or did he play out on the field win? I think both. I think what we just said, I think that he just had answers for them. They didn't really make any adjustments. And even if they did make adjustments, they weren't communicating those adjustments on the field. And I do think that from a physical, listen, if you're not confident in what you're doing, if you're not communicating well, if you're not communicating the snap count well, even, you're not going to play with the same kind of fervor and aggression that the defense is. And if the defense, they can do anything. They can play hard, and they have played hard. So I think they outplayed them on the field, but I think it all starts with the way that they installed their defensive plan, on Wednesday. What things did Houston's defense do that frustrated our offense, even though the injuries to the Texans? It's really the same idea. I think they played really physical inside. I think their inside guys beat our inside guys for the most part. The linebackers, stepped up. 2 guys that are not used to playing stepped up and did a really nice job. Certainly you had some success through the air, but you just weren't able to sustain drives. Part of that was the 2 turnovers, but part of that was there was just some really physical play. There was a lot of tackles for lost nails at the line of scrimmage this week, and a lot of that has to do, quite frankly, with you see 4 guys across the line of scrimmage winning their matchups, and if there's a soft spot or if there's maybe the wrong footwork in certain places, like you can have 1 or 2 of those. If you have a handful of them in these key situations, and this happens to everybody, then it's like it's 2nd long or it's 3rd and long, and that, I had that play three series ago, and I just had another one, and like it starts adding up. And sometimes when you're watching, you don't really think about it until you go back and go like, that was a 2nd and 6 turned into a 3rd and 8, or that was a 1st and 10 turned into a 2nd and 9 when it should have been another first down or something. So those are the things that are I think hurting this team from getting traditional runs. Now, on the outside stuff that they were trying to get with Reed, like they just played more physical on the edges. Whenever we tried to pull or run the orbit or run the long handoff, like it did not work. And I think that's a function of they've got some really good players on defense as well. They're super physical. They pride themselves on it. They're the number one pressure team in the league. They play a lot of man-to-man, so that's going to help you in the run game. Like they're built to stop some of that stuff, and I think they did a good job of it. Did you like the all-white look? I honestly did not. I missed the helmets. I like our yellow helmets, man. I think they're awesome. We're in the halfway point of the season. Which rushing attack do you for the Packers? Jacob, Aaron Jones. I like Aaron Jones better because I think they're both really, really good. I think some of the stuff that you're seeing at the right guard position right now, I think he made up for that last year. I think he made up for that last year. I think he makes up for a lot of that stuff, or the center position last year. I think he makes up for a lot of that stuff. And I just don't think a lot of people can do that. When was the last time we had an offensive play caller plus defensive coordinator combo working in unison? It's preach. Athlete, yesterday they were struggling a little bit on offense, turnovers and whatnot. Athlete comes in, no problem. Gotcha. No turnovers, but no production either. First and goal, no problem. Start the game, no problem. That was again, the game comes down to these different situations, and it's like, if Tank Dell catches that ball I think it's Tank Dell in the back of the end zone, what does the game look like? I think Jordan Love threw a dime to Reed down on like a corner on the right sideline. Maybe that changes that. Maybe that changes the game. So there are these little plays, but certainly when like the penalty flags and a couple of these things, like they do change these games that are two good teams, well fought, physical games. Usually it does come down to a handful of plays. We'd like to, as players, say, nah, you got to take a look at the big picture, and that's true because there's so many plays that could have happened. But sometimes you point at one of these two things because momentum is such a big deal, and you never know. But listen, Packers the plays when it counts, and on to the next week, man. What's crazy, you're third in the NFC North. Like, how the hell are you third? 5-2. Tough sport. Listen, guys, if you like the film breakdown, please Process to Perform channel. Hit me up, Michael68, Process to Perform on Twitter. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next week.